Folks, welcome to another edition in Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host, Glenn Twiddle, bringing you leading experts from around the country and around the world to help you, the Australian home seller, get top dollar for your property, build wealth through property, whatever it is. If it's Australian real estate, we've got you covered. And today, I am so honoured to be bringing you consultants, hired gun negotiators, just authors of the best-selling book, Advanced to Sold. And I'm talking about none other than Rod and Gabby Mcewan. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out.
It's a pleasure, Glenn. Welcome.
It's wonderful to welcome you to our office.
Wow. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of how you help people build wealth through property and all of that stuff, I've got to talk to you about you guys as parents. You managed to do all of these amazing things in your careers, but you've got to tell me about Michael and what he's doing internationally in his cricket scene. Tell me about, Rod, I'll start with you, mate. Tell me about how it feels to be the dad and what he's up to.
Oh, extremely proud, Glenn. You know, he's just come back from 2.5 weeks over in England, or in Wales actually. He went over to train with the first and second 11 of Glamorgan.
Wow.
Got to rub shoulders with Joe Root, Joss Butler,
wow.
Two prominent English players, as well as two South African players, Dale Steyn and Jacques Rudolph. So what a great experience for a 16-year-old boy that, you know, cricket is his life.
It's his life.
He loves it, yeah.
And Gabby, as a parent, when Rod says he got to rub shoulders with, he was keeping to these guys, wasn't he? How's that make you feel?
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
He was actually facing balls that Dale Steyn was bowling, and he was...
And he's no slouch, is he?
The fastest in the world.
Wow.
So he's an absolute freak almost. And there's my 16-year-old son having to face balls at that, like, ridiculous... What speed would it be?
Well, he probably wouldn't have been bowling at his full sort of 150 in his heyday, but certainly probably around 130 kilometers an hour.
So tell me, how did you guys, what are some of the kind of things that you guys did as parents that allowed you to perform at elite level in your guys' business and still raise such amazing kids? Because Michael's not the only success story in your family, is he?
No, we have an older son, Alec, who's 18, and Alec has a lot of success with motocross. He's done motocross his whole junior life, and so we spent many hours out at motocross tracks and racing bikes.
And lots of money.
And a lot of money.
That you never get back.
And now he's pursuing an even more expensive motorsport. So he works for a guy that races V8 supercars.
Wow.
And he now is part of their pit crew. And so really exciting. He was at a race this weekend. So yeah, two boys with totally different interests.
Yeah.
Taken a lot of effort and time from Gabby and I, obviously juggling work as well as our commitments to our boys. But yeah, wouldn't have it any other way. Love them to bits.
Wow. Gabby, tell me, has your business acumen rubbed off on them, or are they sort of more the sporty types and not exactly the legend, influencers, persuaders, salespeople that you guys are?
I tell you, well, Michael was about 5 when I started in real estate, and Alec was about 7. And I dropped Alec off at one of his friends' houses, and it was on top of a hill in Budrum, and it faced south. This is when we were on the Sunshine Coast. And I said to my son, "What do you think of Jacinta's house?" And Alec looks at me. I was expecting, oh, it's a nice house or it's not a nice house, because I'm obsessed with houses. And he goes, oh, facing south, old Queenslander, quite nice pool in the front. He said about 930,000.
How close was he?
So close.
Oh wow!
So close. Probably spot on.
So we've got another generation of Mcewan legendariness on the way. Wow! I'll have to interview them soon.
You'll have to. But the best of all is, I actually caught him selling a car, because he buys old wrecks and does them up and sells them. So he's down to 2 at the moment, but he did have 3 cars until Friday when he went and sold one of them.
Right.
And I actually caught him selling a car to an older guy who would have been in his 30s. And you know, you're obviously aware of the fact that you've got a teenager and you've got an older guy coming to the house. You know, how's he going to handle this? And Alex said, I said, "You need any help?" And he goes, "I don't need help at all." So I went and sat in the lounge right next to the window, and I heard him say,
you got a glass up against the window.
and I heard him say, "I'll do a subject to sale on one condition: the deposit's non-refundable."
Wow. So he's hustling already. I love that.
Totally.
Because you guys have a reputation of getting incredible prices for your sellers using skills like it seems has been passed on to your kids. So guys, let's get into it. And Gabby, I'm going to start with you. Not everyone can just call Gabby Mcewan, call Rod Mcewan and get authors of a book, because you guys aren't in every area. We've got viewers all over the country. What are some of the, I suppose, little giveaways, little things we can be on the lookout for to find the Gabby and Rod team, say in Cairns or in Sydney or in Melbourne or whatever? What are some of those giveaways that my viewers can be on the lookout for that would identify the walkers of the talk from the guys who talk the talk?
I think you want to know that an agent is interested in you as a buyer or as a person, not just as somebody, as a potential seller. That they're not just wanting to make money out of you, but they genuinely care about you and your needs as a person. So they should be very, very good at building rapport and really having an interest in you and how they can help you and what kind of service they can provide for you, whether it's as a potential seller or as a buyer.
So Rodders, other than kind of just being, I mean, Gabby mentioned building rapport and I suppose being nice and personable, you would think that that's just par for the course, but from what we've seen as I've interviewed agents in this show, that's not always the case. What else though, Rod?
Glenn, I think killer marketing is very important. You know, to market someone's property, it's got to be done with the right flair, the right motivation behind getting the best price for the client. Okay,
what might that look like? Good versus not so? Specifically, what can our viewers be on the lookout for?
Video marketing is something that we're very keen on nowadays. And you can see the difference between really good video marketing and poor homemade videos.
Absolutely.
Cheesy.
Yeah. Well, not even the cheesy ones. I mean, I see some that are just embarrassing, filmed on a little iPhone. So, wow, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I know you guys kind of do the almost like home, like not even home movies. You guys do, you know, James Cameron theatre with your guys' work. But yeah, it does amaze me what sometimes we see.
And photography, professional photography, we see so many agents just using, as you say, the iPhone photos. And we can't stress how important it is to use good quality photography done by professional photographers. Same with our video shoots. We get professional video shoots done on our properties. And then again, marketing in terms of our prints, so brochures, good quality brochures, not something printed off on your
on the office printer.
That's actually a really good point, because I actually worked as a buyer's agent about a month ago, and I had a buyer from Sydney who actually paid me a fee to find him a property. So I went shopping. Now that was really interesting, because as an agent you don't go shopping very often. Let's face it, we're here doing our own open homes. So I literally took 2 days out of my schedule and I literally went hunting, and I went to that many open homes. I would have gone to about 15 to 20 in that day. I was just racing around. And how many agents gave me no brochure? How many of them sent me an electronic one? Now, an electronic one's great, don't get me wrong, we do the same, but really people want something physical in their hand, and you want something that's going to lie on the coffee table and jump out at them on a continual basis, so they've got to act on it. They've either got to say, no, that one's not for us, or yes, let's put an offer in, let's make it happen. You know, people are so visual, and we forget how visual they are, and we've really got to cater to every part of the spectrum. And we've also got to know our demographic. So when we know our demographic and we write the copy specifically for that demographic in mind, because we've got a very, very good likelihood of catching that demographic, then we see those people coming to the open homes. It's so heartening when you're selling a large house in Mount Gravatt East, and it's a 4 or 5 bedroom house, and you're getting the families coming through, and then we go, bingo, we're spot on, we've done our job. You know, we don't want to attract the wrong people, because we've written it incorrectly. So we've really got to be in the zone and almost have an instinctual feel as to how to do what we do. So
I've heard one of my clients call it message to market match, meaning the copy, as you say, is written so that it speaks to the ideal buyer of that property. So great point on the marketing, Rod. Gabby, can I ask you, I love that you've actually went into the field representing a buyer as a paid hired gun that you guys often are described as. Absolutely. And you got to see firsthand the other side of the coin. You've mentioned off camera follow-up. Tell me about what follow-up you witnessed as that buyer's representative, because that was probably what the buyers out there are receiving, that level of follow-up. And you mentioned in your book, Advanced to Sold, how follow-up is so important to getting top dollar. Tell me about your leaving no stone unturned principle.
Okay, so we all know that, what do they say? Feedback is the fodder of champions. It's so true. You've got to get feedback, and you owe it to your seller to actually, you know, they've put money out there, they've put money into marketing, they haven't paid me yet, but they basically put their faith in me, and I absolutely owe it to them to know that I've done everything I can do to get a decision out of that buyer and to know what that buyer is thinking about their property and where their buyer sees the value and how I can also influence the value. And that requires a relationship. So a relationship isn't built as a one-off phone call. It's a continual follow-up. It's talking to them. It's emailing them information. It's showing them value. It's giving them additional things about the property, asking whether there's any further questions they may need. They may have a question that we it's an unlikely situation, but we might not have an answer. But if there isn't an answer we have, then we would certainly go back and find out exactly what they need. You know, if you're selling a house to an engineer, he might ask a very specific question about the underground irrigation or something very unusual, or we've got to know the answer to that question. And that's what we're being paid to do. And we can't just gloss over it or just not care. And so follow-up is so important. You know, would you like a private inspection where you got a little bit of time on your own? I know you went through the open home, you only had 10 minutes, you know, you were rushing. Can I set some time aside? Maybe it's at 6 o'clock at night after work. Bring your family. What does your mother think? You know, bring your children.
Wow.
That's really important, and that's what we do. And yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it puts us out of our comfort zone. It eats into our personal time. But that's not what it's about. It's about my seller getting great value from what I do, and us really going all out and being 100% committed and focused on getting them a great price and giving them the service that they actually absolutely should have.
And Rod, so Gabby's talked. I love her passion. I love you guys. There's no wonder you guys are so revered by your clients and loved by your clients. But Rod, tell me, what could our viewers specifically, where's the sweet spot where the follow-up that we get isn't like we've got a new family member that it seems like we're getting contacted, that we've got a new stalker on our hands, nor are we getting ignored by our agents. So where's that sweet spot that's the right amount of follow-up, and what would that look like if I visited your open home?
Yeah, I think all too often people go to open homes and I think they're feared of being badgered by an agent. So when they come to open, they say, the agent says, well, can I take your details? And they're fearful to give it, and they say, oh, we're just looking, thanks, and they turn around and walk out. And too often you see the agents leave it at that. But we found from experience that, you know, if we follow up with every single client and we make that phone call, and as soon as we leave the open home, that we follow up with a text message or an SMS, phone call beginning of the next week, just to follow up if there's anything further interest in the property or not. Because 9 times out of 10, they've gone around looking at several properties, and they quite often will want to come back and have another look at that property. Or they think about it, they sleep on it, and they think, well, maybe that's a possibility. Now, if you just don't ever follow up on them, they'll think, well, yeah, I'm not interested. So I think with Gabby and I certainly try our very best to make sure that we regard everybody that comes through our open homes as a special person that we value as a potential client. If it's not for this property, it may be the next one. And we want them to see that value, that we are there to make sure that, you know, we give them value, that potential buyers are potential sellers down the track, and that we give them the very best that we can.
Wow. So guys, now I noticed that you mentioned a lot of this stuff in your book, Advanced to Sold. Yes. I'm going to get cheeky right now. I know that you've graciously gifted me 2 copies to give away. It's very nice of you for viewers of our show. These guys are the greatest gift givers ever. Have a look at this. Look at that. Remax tie-pin, Remax cufflinks. I love you guys. So can I extend even further on the gift giving and hit up a copy for our viewers of Advanced to Sold?
Absolutely. Wow, no, we'd love to give you a copy, so drop us a line.
Great. I will absolutely get the website put up there so that the guys can get a copy. Thank you. Now let's go with continuing the information really that's really invaluable to our sellers. I guess my next one is, it's around, I've had a bunch of viewers ask me about the cost of selling a home and transacting a home. Right. Whether that's marketing, you know, and whether, you know, how much is too much marketing that the sellers should be investing in, or how much is too little. And that's certainly the thing you mentioned in your book. Yes. And even agents' commission. It seems like there are some agents that are charging what seems like a year's wages to the average everyday Australian, and some seems like they're going to sell for free almost, and everywhere in between. That's so. Right. How can we tread that minefield that is the cost of transacting a property? What's too much? What's too little? How do we get our viewers the best value?
Okay, great question, Glenn. I think what you've got to have a look at is this is the biggest tax-free asset that you can actually sell. So you don't get taxed when you sell your home. So you've really got to maximise the price you get. There's no point in us getting you a half-hearted result or going with an agent that doesn't really care and it's just another listing. And if they get you an extra 10 or 15 grand, what would that mean to you, Glenn? If I got you an extra 15, 20 grand on your property, how would you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's how long would that take most of us to save that up? The
That's
answer is
right.
years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would you want to take a gamble and not do things properly? So if you were selling a car, now with a car it's easy because you've got your little red book and you're not really going to sell it for more than the red book value, right? With a house has got a variety of different prices. We all know it's got what the seller wants, it's got what the buyer wants to pay, or there's a number of different buyers. There's an emotional buyer, there's what the agent thinks it's worth, it's what a valuer will say it's worth.
Yeah.
There's so much variation. So how do we put a price on a property? It's a very, very good question, and it's a difficult question to answer. But you've just got to know that there's absolutely no money left on the table. So you've got to go with an agent who's a great negotiator, but also great at building rapport with a buyer. So that they need to be a great negotiator, but they've also got to be able to extract the most out of that buyer, where the buyer actually is happy to let go of the money, because the agent is so good at selling the value of the property as well. And that's done through great marketing and having a marketing budget and a strategy which kicks in. So your question is, how much do we need to spend on marketing? Well, when I went into real estate 10 years ago, I was told 0.5 to 1% of the value of the property is what you should spend. And I don't see how you can do a great job if you start sacrificing and cutting out things. You know, I say, there'll be a variation on price, and we'll be getting less if we take out the video and we take out great floor plans. We've got to do everything. There's a formula as to why we get the results we get and why any good agent gets the results they get, and it's because it's a net's thrown out, a wide net, to as many people as possible to catch them. Classic example, we just sold a property in Highgate Hill in Brisbane on the river, on 1,442 square metres, and the owner said to me, I'm sure we don't need to go in the newspaper. And I said, well, if we don't go in the newspaper, we will limit how many buyers we have. How many people would you like at the auction? Would you like 2 registered bidders, or would you like 4? And he said, I want 4. I said, well, if we've got 4 bidders, we're more likely to hit above the reserve. As it was, the reserve was 2.2 million. We sold it for 2.4. We had 4 registered bidders at the auction.
Wow. So that small ad of maybe, whether it's a few $1,000s or whatever advertising media we're talking about, a few $1,000s at this end results in potentially $200,000 at the other end.
His budget was $15,000 on the print media alone. Now that's an exceptionally large budget, but however, a property in excess of $2 million.
It almost needs that, doesn't it?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I would be grossly misrepresenting a seller to say, no, we'll just stick it on the net. And that.
Well, it would have cost him, in that very specific example, it would have cost him potentially $200,000.
I just can't bear the thought of knowing that if we'd only got him 2.2 million because he didn't want to spend 15 grand on a newspaper ad, it would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Now, not every property's like that.
Of
so
course.
there's horses for courses, and a lot of the stuff that we sell in Carina Heights, say Carindale, Mount Gravatt East, even some of the properties we sell down in Wynnum, those sort of properties around the southern, inner southeast of Brisbane, a lot of them are in a price range where we can put it on the internet with great photos, floor plans and video, and we'll have 15, 20 people through an open home.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a point of actually being sensible, and we don't want people to spend money where they don't need to.
Yeah.
We really don't. If we've got people in our database that we think would pay top dollar and we can bring them through first and we don't need to spend money, we'll do that. But I don't like doing that. I'd rather put it out there and get as many people through as possible, because why would you want to limit your market?
Yeah. Rod, it sounds like there's a difference between just getting a property sold and getting that hidden $200,000. But again, the principles are the same on a $500,000 property, aren't they? But it sounds like there's a difference between just selling a property and selling a property for top dollar.
Most definitely, Glenn. I think key to that is having a really good negotiator. You know, if you're going to get top dollar for your property, your marketing has got to be correct, as we've spoken about. The presentation of your property is key, but you've got to have a brilliant negotiator, because it's very easy to leave $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on the table. Now there are people out there that can quite gladly say they'll sell their own home, or they'll use the cheapest agent out there for less commission. How good a negotiator is that agent, or yourself if you're going to market yourself? Are you prepared to ask for that extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000? Are you comfortable pushing the buyer for more money? That's where paying that little bit extra and getting the best agent in can achieve you top dollar. And why not in your back pocket than leave it on the table?
Absolutely, and I love how you guys have a reputation. I mean, Gabby, yourself especially, you got this reputation of smile on the face, but knowing that you truly are loved by your buyers, but you know that for your seller, you're getting top dollar, because it just feels like a lot of agents think that their job is to get a win-win outcome where the buyer has a win and the seller has a win, and yet it's the seller that's paying you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we had one about 2 weeks ago where we sold a little shack near the water, and they actually said to me, "We'll take 400,000," which it was probably about 390. Was probably what it was worth. "We'll take 400." So I got 400, and she goes, "We'll take it." I said, "No. Let me make another phone call."
Yeah.
And she said, "Will you?" I said, "Of course I will. You pay me for that." And we got over and above that.
Wow.
And of course they're over the moon, and that's your referral territory. That's where people will trust you, and they'll give you this is the second property I've sold for them. The first one I actually sold to a buyer's agent, and I tell you what, they are smart boys.
Yeah.
But we were in a multiple offer situation, and that's another thing. A lot of agents don't like multiple offers.
Wow.
We love them. Bring it on.
Yeah.
So we never go out on a Saturday night, okay? Because we are working till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, driving around, getting multiple offers, getting them all in, farming them. Often they'll spill over into a Sunday, and we just work it. We don't just accept the first offer. We phone everybody back and say, "Right, we've got this great offer. Can you put your best offer in?" "Oh, okay. But we weren't thinking of, but we're going to have a punt." And then the second offer comes in, which pushes the first offer up, and then another one comes in, and you end up with 5 offers. So when you bring the seller the 5 offers and say, "Which one do you want?" They're like, "Gee."
Your reputation is well deserved, you pair.
I don't know about 9, 10 o'clock. Gabby's come home before after midnight.
And I suppose that's the difference, that all agents aren't created equal. So find one that can do what you're describing. That's my best advice to our viewers, is find the Rod and Gabby team of your area that will go that extra mile.
Exactly. Real estate has got to be your passion, which it is for us.
Yep.
We're passionate about real estate. We're passionate about our vendors, about getting the best for them. We love to see the smile on their face when you bring them those multiple offers, or when you bring them that extra $20,000, $30,000.
Yeah, or 200.
Or 200,000.
Nice.
So that brings a smile to our face.
Wow.
And when we can find those heart buyers out there that are really looking, and they fall in love with the property because the marketing's been done properly, because the presentation of the property is top shelf, everyone walks away win-win situation. Nice. And for us, that's what makes it.
I get it. I mean, I love the quote that I've heard from you guys that Zig Ziglar once said, is that if you help enough people get what they want, which is exactly what you do for your sellers, then you too will be rewarded with everything you want. It's magnificent to see you guys doing that. So guys, a lot of the viewers have asked me about the various methods of transacting a property. Yes. I mean, there are some agents out there that will just shove an auction down the seller's throat and do nothing else. And there are some agents there that say that auctions are the devil, and everywhere again in between. What's your guys' take? Gabby, I'll start with you, because you've got a reputation of being so good at the auction method of sale. Is that the only method for yourself, or how does method of sale work when sellers come to you who maybe don't like auction?
Okay, I think a lot of people don't like auctions. I think a lot of sellers are scared of auctions, or they've had a bad experience, or they've gone with an agent who's not an auction trained agent. When I say that, I don't mean an auctioneer, because I am an auctioneer, for those of you that know me. However, I'm too busy to do my own auctions now. I outsource them to the best auctioneer in Queensland.
Right.
But my point is that you've really got to have a look at what you want to achieve. Now, if I was selling my own property, okay, and it was a sort of property where I could absolutely extract a maximum out of it by going to auction, and I wanted to once again leave no stone unturned, and also flush out an unconditional buy because I had a time frame in mind, then I would definitely go with an auction process. Now, we had one a couple of weeks ago where we had a couple that were buying their parents' property who were going to a retirement home, who had signed a 60-day contract. And she said, "I want an unconditional contract." I said, "You want an unconditional contract, or do you want to settle?" She goes, "No, actually, I want to settle in 60 days.
Wow. There's
and
not
I
a
said,
lot.
There's one strategy. I said, "That's auction." And we've had a few like that, and they've been massively stressful. And auction's a lot more work for the agent, by the way, a lot more work. Or normally we would have done a private treaty with that one, but we managed to extract probably an extra 30 or 40 grand above market value by selling it using the auction method. Now, with an auction, you can either sell before the auction, under the hammer, or within a 2-week period after the auction. And that's what people need to understand. It's a process. It's a process. The same with actually the private treaty. It's a process. Most properties around the area we work don't go to auction, and they're private treaty.
Yep.
Whatever you decide to do, I'll always support you, because at the end of the day, you're the one that makes that decision, and I can do both. So I can drive a manual car, I can drive an automatic, okay? Some people can only drive an automatic, I can drive both. I don't like driving a manual, but I do like doing private treaty, I do like doing auction. I will advise you or our clients on what they actually should be doing and what my recommendations would be. And I really like the idea that with the auction process, you do flush out all buyers, and they have to deal with your property before they can go and buy something else. Because often they say, you'll call a buyer and say, "Oh, you interested?" And they'll say, "Well, I just want to see what happens at that auction round the corner." Have you ever had that? And they do that, and you're like, "Oh, I want you to buy mine." And they're like, "No, I want to go and have a go."
So they put the urgency on the auction properties and then get to the private treaty. Rod, what if I came to you guys and I said my preference was the private sale? What would you guys kind of, how would you treat me if I had a preference? Would you sell me into an auction? Tell me how that would work.
I think, Glenn, at the end of the day, generally if people have a preference to one way or the other, it's either they've had a bad experience or they don't have enough confidence in one of the other methods. So it's our job to explain the various methods available to them and why they may be leaning towards one method of sale. But if that's something that is dear to them, no, we're not going to force anyone to try and sell their property by auction if it's their preference is private treaty.
Yeah, most of what we do is actually private treaty. Really, I wish we did more auctions, but we always respect what our sellers want. So we do a lot more. Probably 70% of what we do is probably private treaty.
Yeah,
wow.
That's right. And it's always, our main goal is always to get the best for our client. So each property I think is individual and unique. In some instances, certain properties, private treaty is definitely the better way to go. And as Gabby's explained, in other instances, whether it's time frame or they're wanting an unconditional settlement quickly, the auction process is probably the better way to go.
Wonderful.
I think a lot of people look at auction clearance rates, that are posted by RB Data and all these companies and say, "Oh, well, it's only 40 or 45 or 48% here in Queensland." But I think, as Gabby said, auction is a process.
Yeah.
You've got to look at the whole auction as a 2, 3, 4 week process after the auction if it doesn't sell under the hammer. Because that's
Or prior.
Or prior, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. So it's the process and how you handle that and how you work with those buyers. And we found to be, a lot of our clients be very successful in that process. Generally, always, we get the result, whether it's before, during the auction or after the auction, we always get a result for our client.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I guess, guys, I just want to say a massive thanks to you guys for not only your advice today, copy of the book.
Yes.
It's been really my honour picking your guys' brains and knowing that your sellers in your area are in very good hands, but I love the advice of how our viewers can absolutely find the Gabby and Rod Mcewan team of their area. And Rod, I'm going to hit you up. I know that you've got so much experience, not only helping people sell their properties, but also build wealth through property. So guys, keep an eye out for another episode of this show where I'm going to pick Rod's specialty brain on how he builds people property portfolios and not just sell properties for the highest price. So I can't wait for that interview, Rod.
Look forward to it.
All right, so on that note, guys, there is another edition of Real Estate Experts in the Can. Rodney and Gabby Mcewan have been my guests today. Grab a copy of their book. And until next time on this show, where we help you, the everyday Australian, tread the minefield that is the uncertainty of the Australian property industry. Until next time, folks, bye for now.